macron.
Macaron?
No, like the punctuation.
Oh, I don't know.
What's a schwa?
I don't know.
Oh my God, you're useless.
You don't know these things either?
Let me ask you a question. I asked it before. What is the best movie soundtrack and why is it Tron Legacy?
Because it's one of the best movies ever.
Because it used CG to its advantage.
Oh.
And with that note, the champagne's been popped. The wine is flowing. Or tequila. And you know where we're going. We are going on a backlot tour. And I'm your tour guide, Captain Zach. And so with me always is Benz.
Or Jana.
You know,
it's been almost a year.
We have this witty repartee back and forth about the name. I almost never call you Jana in real life.
When you're mad at me, you do.
I call you Biscuit Head. I was like, you Biscuit Head?
No, when you're like legitimately mad at me.
Oh. Yeah, because we take the piss out of it if I just called you Beans in the middle of an argument or something.
Yeah.
You're like, Beans. And you're like, oh, I can't get mad at you. Your name is Beans. It's adorable. Own it. Stop fighting it. Let it wash over you.
I don't like anything you're saying right now.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about CGI and
What does that stand for?
computer graphic images.
Is that?
No, I don't know. What is it?
Well, now I'm unsure.
Oh, I thought you knew. I thought you were just...
I thought it was computer generated images.
And
what did you say?
Maybe computer graphic.
Computer graphic. What is it, 1992? You're disgusting.
You know, I'm not the art person in the room. I'm the accountant. The financial...
Oh my gosh. We're Walton Roy. We're the magic in the numbers.
Metric
in the numbers.
Yeah. Are you just not figuring this out?
Yeah.
Your computer generated imagery.
So I was right.
Okay, yes. So we are... what?
I don't know. Go.
We're talking about CGI in movies. And
we can talk about specifically with Disney, I guess, is my zeroing in on it.
You're zeroing in on it.
What happened?
It's semi a detour, semi a problem with Disney is.
I don't think it's a detour at all, actually. I think it's a major problem.
Well, it's a major problem in all of cinema
yeah,
right now.
But, well,
I mean, Disney has been worse lately than others, it's with everybody.
Well, it is a problem that stretches across, I think, all of cinema to a degree. But there are those that are still working within the boundaries of, hey, I have a budget. Whereas Disney is just like out of control with how much they spend on shows and movies now. Mm-hmm. And the return on investment is terrible for the most part.
It is.
Because the only movie that...
Nobody's like really using practical effects anymore.
Well, and when the one time they did in like Force Awakens, I was like, okay.
Well, where was it in Force Awakens?
A lot of like the puppeteering, a lot of like the actual creatures weren't just CG faces and stuff like that. Which
yeah, they actually use like special effects makeup.
Or it's just like it's weird because like you think about like episode 2 and 3, every stormtrooper or clone trooper was CG, which is weird at the time. It didn't make that much sense, especially even for close-up shots. I feel like that would have been a waste of money.
I mean,
they were CG. Like, why would you just put a guy in a helmet?
Because then they would have had to actually make those costumes for like 2,000 people.
No, I'm talking about like the one-on-one interactions, like when there's only like a 2 or 3 on screen. It was still a CG character.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was weird because it's like you want the uniformity, I guess, but like after watching like Bad Batch and stuff.
All you have to do is just find like 3 guys with the same physique, like same height, same.
Just film Tamara Morris and just have him do everything.
Tamora, I think.
But like, there's just someone in the helmet, just film him over and over. Mm-hmm. But like, the budgets on all these things are insane to the point of you need to make $700 or $800 million at the box office to break even at this point. Mm-hmm. And the only movie to do that,
that's including like advertising and marketing costs.
That's includes advertising, marketing, the actual cost of the movie or show, and like the cut that the movie theater would get. Because they would usually kind of have what you get. So if a movie makes $900 million, it's like they usually take about 40 to 50% depending on where you are.
Well, it also that also depends on like the first few weeks the movie is
Yeah,
in the theater.
it changes a little bit.
The percentage
Yeah,
changes.
but like as a rule of thumb, it's like it's vague.
And right now, nothing is really staying in the theater more than like 4 to 6 weeks before it goes to streaming.
When we saw Fall Guy, we were like, let's go to the theater and see Fall Guy. It was a month out, I think, right?
Yeah, it had been out for a few weeks.
And
My
we
mom was
couldn't-
here watching the kids, and we're
And
like,
we couldn't
can
get there
go
because it was
see a
late,
movie.
and we're like,
Yeah.
and then we're like, oh wait, it's already streaming
Yeah.
for less than it'll be the seat of the theater.
Yeah, it was like I mean, we probably
we
would have
bought it for
spent
$25.
$40 on tickets.
Yeah,
And we have a nice home theater
yeah. So
where we can pause it and get up and go to the bathroom and drink for free.
yeah, but like the idea of like spending $200 million on a movie and then up to $100 to $150 million on advertising for a movie that could easily fail.
I will say though, Fall Guy, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's a
Should
fun
see
movie.
it.
Flops used to be big deals. Like we're going to go over this at some point when we revisit John Carter, because I remember that being the biggest flop of theirs like ever. And it was a big deal and a big talking point.
John Carter was the one with Taylor Kitsch. Or
Yeah,
Jake
it was
Gyllenhaal?
like John Carter of Mars, and I was not mad at that movie, and
I don't
we'll
remember.
revisit it, but like I didn't hate it, and like it got such like I remember everyone was like, oh my god, it's a huge fail, and Disney this year has had like flop after flop after flop in the last 2
Well,
years,
except for Inside Out 2.
and I think Guardians 3. I think they barely pulled a profit,
Yeah.
even after making 900 million, because it costs so much money. But Inside Out 2 now has passed $1 billion, so it was profitable at like I think 7 or 8 probably. I think it became profitable. But like all these other movies, I'm just like, how are you spending this much money on these things? Where is this money going? Because it sparked when I saw first off the practical effect of it was the second Pirates thing or the third.
Are you talking about Davy Jones?
Yeah, well, Davy Jones looked insanely good. Like, let's not like some of the stuff from like CG also from like the early 2000s somehow is looking better than CG now.
Yeah, and well, okay, but here's the thing:
And they're
where
spending
this
less on it,
conversation is going,
probably.
like, why are they moving away from just building stuff?
Because
know,
it's too easy to do CG. To
Well,
use like the volume that they have now.
but isn't it a little more costly to use CG, and doesn't it look worse to use CG?
Well, you gotta think they bought that volume thing that they used on Mandalorian that they're using everywhere.
Oh, the screens.
That's what it's called, the screen system, where it's not green screen, but it's like it's filling the whole room.
Like
So
super high quality.
You get the real lighting, and it's like it would look better than a green screen in theory. But most of the time, they're still using a big green screen probably for a lot of these things, and no one's in the room with them. And I think they just think you have more control in post to do these things, obviously. And I think that's why they do it, because Marvel is notorious for reshooting and redoing CG scenes, which is why their budgets get insanely high. Okay, it was the scene in the end of Pirates 2 where they had this big, ginormous, they had that full ship that they built for this one scene, where they had those two giant things that represent the Kraken's tentacles going across the ship and destroying it. And it was a real, actual thing. And then it showed the rest of the scenes of like people being pulled, and it was not actually, it was actually all practical for the most part, obviously, except for the Kraken. But that movie, like Davy Jones, like looked legit amazing. And I feel like CG characters now, I'm just like,
And-
Gollum was better than like stuff that's coming out now.
Yeah. Well, and you look at Avatar, like that entire world is made up, and like
Well, it's like
all motion cap, and
you also have certain people that are pushing the boundaries of like James Cameron has always pushed the boundaries of what CG should and could be ever since The Abyss
yeah. But I mean, the fact is, like,
or Aliens. I mean, actually,
Avatar looks super realistic. The Na'vi looks super, super realistic.
You're an
Like-
Avatar apologist though, so like I can't take your word for this because I'm like it looks fine, it looks good,
It
but
looks amazing. Shut your mouth.
I'm not going to use that as my. That's like one of the most expensive movies ever made, so I'm not going to use that as an example. But like, there's other ones that are like as expensive that just look terrible. And I don't understand where the money goes and how it's so poorly used. Because you look at something like Jurassic Park from 1993, that used minimal CG effects, but used them sparingly and used them in the exact right spot, and actually had real models of dinosaurs for the rest of them, like actual puppets. And the budget was like 80 million, which I think you looked at, it was like 140 today.
I don't remember.
It was something like that. That's still amazingly low for that movie. How much do you think Daredevil cost? There's no CG in that. It's all fight choreography pretty much and real. And it's one of the most beloved Marvel properties out there, I think.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it is. I think most people are like,
Well, for us it is.
it's like the gold standard is like Daredevil season 1 is like the end all and be all, almost
Well,
like best
even
thing
when you
Marvel's ever done.
Go back to the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with like
Iron Man being
Captain
$80 million.
America.
That's
Even
how much that cost.
Thor, which used a lot of CG, still looked really, really good.
Well, like, for Iron Man, it was 80 million, and like there was minimal CG for that. I feel like it was him in the costume, and like the few parts they used them sparingly. Kind of like the Jaws effect, where like Jaws wasn't working most of the time, so they had to figure out a way to not show the shark, and it worked to their advantage.
They normally, when Tony's in the costume, showing his face
He just shows heads up
with like
display.
the little
It's called a heads up display.
Yeah, versus him actually in the costume.
Yeah, and it was so inexpensive compared to like the other ones now, and I'm just like,
Yeah, because now it's like you look at what was it? Not Ant-Man and the Wasp, but the one after that, Quantum Solace. No, that's James Bond.
what? Even Quantumania?
Quantumania.
You said the one after Ant-Man Quantumania?
I said
What?
after Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no clue what you're saying. And then you're like, James Bond. It's like, okay.
No, like I mean,
know
the
what that means.
CG in that was garbage. You look at the Little Mermaid live action, CG in that was garbage. But then also too, you go back to Aquaman by WB.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
That was some of the worst CG ever.
Yeah.
Like it took us, I don't know if you remember.
I think we said 3 sittings. To
Yes,
try to get
it took
through
us 3 sittings to get through
I
that
did not
movie.
enjoy it.
I mean,
And I like Jason Momoa.
let's be real. The CG probably didn't have too much to do with how long it took us to get through that movie. It was
It's just
just a
so-
bad movie.
Well, it's like-
but the CG was just like laughable.
Well,
And I don't have an eye for this stuff. I'm personally not one to full on notice some things until it gets pointed out to me. But it's like that one, Little Mermaid, a few others
if
are
you-
just like blatantly obvious.
that's the
and
point.
bad.
If you notice
Yeah.
it, like someone like a normie when it comes to that stuff, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't notice the CG. It should be seamless.
Like Tron Legacy.
Well, Tron worked really well because it is in like a world
digital
building.
world.
It's a digital world, but it looked amazing,
Yeah.
and it was fun. And I hope the next one doesn't suck because
I'm
I really like
concerned.
that. Like the
I am not a fan of Jared Leto.
well, Legacy was it was interesting because like a lot of people loved it and a lot of people hated it. It's very, and I think the people that might have hated it might have been like people that were really big fans of the first one.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this isn't true to what it was. I'm like, oh no, it's
Yeah,
better because the
well-
first one was kind of boring.
So when
It's
I worked
groundbreaking
at
but boring.
when I worked at the store, when did Tron Legacy come out? That was 2011, I think. First off, there's no merch for it, which really bummed me out. But there would be guests out, like, anytime I'd see like a guest come in that was like wearing a Tron shirt, I'd obviously like have to talk to him and stuff. But a lot of times, if it was like somebody who liked Tron, the original, they hated Tron Legacy.
Well, I feel like the art direction was spot on. It's like that's one of those things that I don't know is thrown by the wayside sometimes. It's like the art direction of like you got the big tentpole movies like Dune. I'm sure we still haven't watched that, but I'm sure like the art direction is amazing in movies like that. And even like Furiosa, I heard was amazing when it comes to that, like the production and how that looks.
Well, back to that Mad Max Fury Road, that was all practical.
I think there's a lot more in this last one, which is I think a problem. But like, I just want to know where the money goes. I don't understand it anymore. Like the practical effects, it's like it looks so much better and so much more real when someone is actually reacting to something real. And it looks, and like look at Alien and Aliens and those earlier movies that were from the 80s. It's just guys in suits and it's terrifying. They use darkness to their like advantage and just like spraying things down to make them wet. And it's like, it's still terrifying. Same thing with like Predator. It's an actual like human underneath there with like these movable mandibles and jaw. Like it's just
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. Like it's the Jim Henson Creature
Yeah.
Company, like making things for people, like realistic, fun things.
It's a lost art at this point.
Yeah, because like you look at like the new Ninja Turtles, like the Michael Bay ones, and they're just like a bunch of crap like CG things that like with weird noses, and everyone hated it. They were terrible. I tried to watch them; it was bad.
I remember when the first Transformers movie came out. I remember it was like around the time we started dating, and we were watching it at your house, and you were like talking about like all the animation stuff and like render times and things like that, but just going about like how good it looked, you know.
I don't know if it looked good. It was just a bunch of metal moving around. It was
Well,
hard
I think
to,
at that time it probably looked
the
good.
first one, I didn't mind the first one. The second one, I was just like, I had the same problem with like Venom. It's just a bunch of either metal moving around or goop. So when Venom, the first Venom, it's like when he's fighting another thing, it's just like mush moving around. And I was like, what is happening? And I was like, this is my problem with this, because it's like, it's not Venom fighting this other guy. It's just like a goopy form of Venom fighting. And it's like, I don't know what's happening. The same thing in Transformers is, it's like, it's just a bunch of metal moving around fast. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you couldn't do Transformers, I don't think, practical. I don't think there's a way to do that.
What?
There's a way, you can't do a lot of these movies practical anymore. Like, that doesn't exist. But like, something that makes something magic. Like, we watched Godzilla -1. That's the one I really wanted you to see, because I was
Yeah.
like, this movie costs like under $15 million.
My first Godzilla movie.
Yeah. And it was a lot of character driven stuff in that. It wasn't really about Godzilla necessarily. It was about, I think it was the first Godzilla like
the-
period piece. It was like
Like
post
you call
World War
it the
II.
Jaws effect of you don't really see the monster as
Well,
much.
you see it. I mean, but
well,
you don't
well,
see
you
it.
do, but it's not like.
Well, Jaws worked because you only would see a little bit of it.
But Godzilla was not this. I mean, he was like the central focus, but at the same time, he wasn't.
It was very much
You
not
know.
an American version, because American versions are just kaijus fighting each other, and so he's like King Kong, Godzilla, a bunch of other monsters, and no character. Like no, you don't care about the humans at all. It's like their story is nothing. This is all about this one guy.
It was really good.
And it was really good, and it was like $12 million or something like that. It was between 10 to 15. I couldn't get a solid number.
Like this is one that whenever they come out with Godzilla -2,
Yeah, well, I think it's in the works, because I mean, it made like
it is one that I'd want to like maybe see in theaters.
it made its money back very fast, because
Yeah.
word of mouth traveled, and it's like this movie
And how much did it cost,
like 10 to 15 million, 'Cause, like,
including marketing?
including everything. So it's like the guy who directed it did like he was like the head of the CG department. In the CG department, there was only like 35 people. And like if you look at the end of a Marvel or a Star Wars movie, it's like a novel of people working on these things. And the fact that only 35 people worked on this is insane.
Going back to Marvel, how you have all of those post houses or whatever you call them, like that started speaking out around the time of Love and Thunder about how terrible Marvel has been to work with because they will rush things completely.
They'll change it and then rush it.
Yeah,
I think.
And so you're getting these people who probably do know how to do their job in their defense, but
Oh,
they
yeah,
are
they
being
do.
so rushed that they cannot do it to the best of their ability.
I think they would have like a finished scene, and then you just come in and be like, "We're totally gutting this and doing something different." And you're like, "Well, there goes your budget, because this is expensive." And the way they usually
and them
handle
just
this
like being worked to death.
for movies like that, I think they price it out to different houses to like, you do this scene, you do this scene. It's not them all working on one thing, like unless
So you
it's like
get this,
ILM or
like-
something doing everything. But like,
Like disjointed animation.
yeah, exactly. You're gonna get different things. Like I think that's what happens in like. I always go back to Harry Potter
yeah.
3 because the hippogriff looks like Duckbeak looks amazing, and the werewolf to me always looks wonky.
Yeah.
I was like, how did something look so good, and then in the end it looks so bad? So I don't know. You just get, it's not. There's no cohesion. I feel like in that. I know someone's going to art direct that and try to fix it, but like, I think for Godzilla -1, it was only Godzilla, so it's like, I think the 35 people did everything, and it's super impressive to see what they pulled off with just that much money. And you're just like, how did everyone else fuck up so badly and spend all their money? It's like I that's what I'm like. That's the one I'm like, I don't understand. It's like there's something wrong. Like it's a broken model now. So I don't know. And you're just not going to make your money back, and then you're not going to have enough money to like make cool stuff in the future. No one's going to have the confidence to put out a movie, like to put that much behind a movie anymore. You're going to start like maybe it needs to, like everyone needs to get less money to start thinking outside the box and thinking more practical.
You know, these companies do have like all this money and they have tons of lines of credit. You know, they have like, they work with debt. You know, it's all about their debt ratios and everything. So flops, I don't think they care about too much because they're just like, oh, we'll just get the next one. You know, or like, hey, we're just gonna.
But if the flops keep adding up.
Well, and I don't necessarily know, you know, obviously how like accounting at Disney works or anything, but you do have like the different
You
sections.
just got like the parks holding up everyone, basically.
Well, you do, but at the same time, it's like the parks is the parks' money, and it gets funneled into the Walt Disney Company. Each thing is its own revenue stream that they will likely have their own accounting books for, and then at the end of the year, they all have to roll up into the Walt Disney Company for the Walt Disney Company to present as a whole portfolio. But then in the 10K, it's going to list each division separately so you can see what is failing and what is succeeding. You know, so yes, the parks are expensive and they keep upping those prices, and we know that they are making a huge profit there. But I don't know if any of those funds are going to would get like diverted to the film section.
The funny thing about the film stuff now, though, is when you have a flop in your hands, it instantly dries up another revenue stream of like your merch. Because usually when you have like a nice, like when Frozen hit or Tangled, the merch was probably through the roof. I'm assuming it was. You were probably at the Disney store for some of these when like Frozen hit, it was insane.
Frozen was a nightmare.
But in terms of like for a movie coming out, we used to be very excited about like, oh, there's some this is coming out, this is coming out for it. Like whether it be figures, because we still get those on occasion, and other things. I haven't done that in so long. Of like, I'm excited about this, I'm gonna get this.
I mean, that Sally Slater doll's coming out on Monday.
Well, that's an old IP though. That's not
Yeah,
like a
I mean,
new
that's
IP.
Haunted Mansion. That's different.
It's Haunted Mansion, but like it's. I mean, did Haunted Mansion the movie have any merch come out for it? Did something come out for that?
Yeah.
What came out for it?
I mean, there was like that terrible Madame Leota costume.
that we got shipped accidentally.
Yeah. There were some other things. I don't fully remember what.
It's like we're not even aware of it now.
Yeah.
And now it's like you don't have a pipeline to the consumer anymore, unless you're in the park. Because I don't go on that website or the app. It's terrible. I think the Disney Store app is like one of the worst apps I've ever used.
When was the last time you went on? Because I
Just
actually
an hour ago.
Oh.
And I couldn't search for the Tiki Room sign.
Yeah, the app is terrible. The website itself is much better, but they did actually just change back probably maybe 2 or 3 months ago from shopdisney.com back to disneystore.com.
I'm just using the app. I'm not going on their website.
So, I would never use their app. Their app is garbage.
Well, they need to fix it because most people just have apps for things now.
I don't know.
I don't know. We're talking. We did.
This is a huge
We've
digression.
deviated.
It always comes back to the merchandise.
It's all about them. You got to follow the money, and it's not the merch isn't there anymore. Anyways, I want to go back to more limited budgets, and then maybe people can actually work outside the box and actually figure out new ways of doing things that are just.
Well, not just work outside the box, but I feel like if you limit budget, then you have to make sure you have like the best of the best happening, the best script possible, the best effects, the best the best crew, the best cast, you know,
Well, it's
that
like
you can use your money on, you know.
You're gonna
Somebody
focus,
like you have to have like actual professionals.
Yeah, and also just like everything is going to have to be top notch because you're not relying on CG. And I think everyone just relies on this crutch of CG.
You got to go into filming with a complete script that you're not going to be like changing up every 5 minutes.
I think most of them change out, but like, I think you just go in with a solid script. I think you have to, like, I don't think anyone's doing that anymore. I don't know. Everything's just changing too much. And it's just like CG slop. And I'm just like, everything looks terrible. Mm-hmm. Cause again, like 10, 15 years ago, stuff was looking so much more
okay,
like
you
real.
know, though, Haunted Mansion that came out last year.
I still have complaints about the CGI.
Okay.
And the budget was insane for that movie.
It
was like $150 million.
I liked it.
I hate ghost effects like that. I just don't like them.
I know you do. Well, you like the Ghostbusters ghost effects.
But think about the original don't make me think it's like Afterlife or like 2016 or something like that. Because I think I'm talking about like newer Ghostbusters.
Oh,
I'm saying
yeah.
the original Ghostbusters is the gold standard for like what a ghost should look like
In film.
in film. Yes, because it was actual real. It wasn't. They didn't have CG. They would just film these things and like just do their own effects of magic back then in 1984. But Haunted Mansion, $150 million. I'm like, I don't know where it went.
We've just all become way too reliant on technology.
Yeah. And it's going to get even crazier when the AI starts like taking over some of these things. You can get some really wonky donkey stuff. I don't know. It's going to be a wild ride the next few years when it starts hitting and becoming more and more of a thing. So I mean, final thoughts?
I mean, movies are going downhill.
Some movies are.
Some movies are. I mean,
It might have that bubble thing burst where it's like everything goes back to like more indie style film of like it's a low budget with like a solid script kind of thing, and we get a new Quentin Tarantino or something like that.
That's like we have like our classic movie nights where we watch classic movies, and they're just so much better. And part of it is because they had to rely on the acting and the script.
Yeah, we just watched 12 Angry Men,
You know?
basically a bottle episode of all these dudes
Yeah.
in one room just
And it's
talking, and that was it.
so good. And there weren't any computer
No,
effects then.
they had to get very clever about effects.
Yeah. So if there were going to be effects like with explosions or anything like that, they had to be very practical with it.
Or you just get like
But again, it's just the scripts themselves were so much better. The dialogue
you
was
just
better.
get Humphrey Bogart to walk in a room and own it, and that's
Oh,
all
yeah,
you
he
need.
does.
No
He
CG,
really does.
just him just walking in and be like, "Damn, this guy owns it."
And it's strange too
Riz,
because he was a short, not very attractive man.
mad Riz though,
Mad Riz. Yeah.
so much oozing
Yeah.
charisma.
Any final thoughts?
No,
All right. Well, be sure to like, subscribe, and give us a follow. And if you need any help planning a Disney trip, be sure to reach out. I love doing that,
she does.
and I'm very good at it too.
Humble brag.
Yeah.
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but beep beep.
Anyways,
Take us home.
yeah. There's a great big pretty okay tomorrow.
Shining at the end every day.